Who let David Stearns cook? Freddy Peralta is a New York Met. Trading Brandon Sproat, Jett Williams. We also got Tobias Myers. Everyone has wanted an ace starting pitcher. And the New York Mets just went out and said, oh, yeah, Freddy Peralta, you're ours. Freddy Peralta, New York Met James. David Stearns has only decided to start cooking as soon as I go on vacation. Doesn't give me a second to relax. How are you feeling seeing this news?
Fantastic. This is awesome. Like, I still don't even know if the offseason's technically over yet, but like, this is what we've been waiting for months now. Like, we did a whole lineup in, a whole lineup out over the last 3 months. We watched a lot of your guys' favorite players come and go. Lots of crazy other players coming in recently, but everyone said, like, you need a pitcher. And this offseason still would have felt like a bit of a half measure without getting a real starting pitcher. And you got a real starting pitcher. And like, this was, I mean, right now in the trade market, it seems like Freddy Peralta, unless Derek Scoop was actually available, he was the best starting pitcher available. You had a bunch of your rivals gunning for him. I don't know if you guys consider the Dodgers a rival, but the Braves were definitely involved. The Yankees were definitely involved. The Padres were definitely involved. And the Mets made the best offer. They got Freddy. They got a great auxiliary piece with him and Tobias Myers. This is a lights out, awesome deal.
Yeah, this got me, again, I was giddy about Luis Robert, so that was a personal thing. Or no, not Robert, it's Rober. Luis Rober, because in Cuba they don't pronounce the T's. I know people in our comment section were saying that Latinos do, but apparently in Cuba it's different. Regardless, not the point of this video. Like, me and my dad were giddy about this one. We were sitting around the table playing some Rummy Cube. I don't know if you guys have ever played that game. Absolutely electric. And I'm texting like, hey, we got Freddy Peralta. And it's so funny because we were making fun of that awful trade proposal the other day. Brett Beatty, Jonah Tong, Ronnie Mauricio, and Brewers fans were in my comments. There was a certain glut of Met fans that hate my guts for everything that I say. Tell me, oh, you're an idiot. The Mets would do this trade in a heartbeat. Brewers would never answer. The Mets gave up way less than that. It was still a good haul back for the Brewers, objectively.
Very good haul, we'll say that.
Very good haul back. Brandon Sproat and Jett Williams, I think, are going to be two really good players for the Brewers in the future. But the Mets to not give up again. A mega top prospect for them. Jett Williams is awesome. Jett Williams is a top 50 guy. And Brandon Sproat, who kind of, with Tobias Myers, kind of just swapped our guys in a way. Like, to then get Freddy Peralta, this is incredible.
No, this is great. And again, I don't want to poo-poo the package that we sent back. The Mets did trade
good
legitimate
package.
pieces to get them, especially if Freddy Peralta's rental. I think we'll go on with this to kind of talk about if there's even a chance to give Freddy Peralta an extension. But I think we're going to save the first part of this for just, one, the job of David Stearns in the last 5 days to make all this happen this quickly.
As soon as I got in Puerto Rico, he was like, let's get to work. Even just the idea of how today they brought in Bo Bichette for the introductory press conference. Steve Gelbs asked him after the press conference, David Stearns, the offseason's been great. What's next? And Stearns goes, we'd still like to go get a pitcher. We would like to go get a pitcher. I've said it all offseason. And then 4 or 5 hours later, he went and got his guy.
Yeah, and even during that press conference, the Mets signed very minimal move. Luis Garcia to a major league deal for a little bit under $2 million to just be more middle relief depth. But this is
we got that Luis Garcia, the guy who's like 100 but throws like 98.
Yeah, that's perfect. Exactly what we needed.
Nice.
Cheap gas. But it's just like, this is fantastic. Like, Freddy Peralta, I think by all accounts and measures, is very comfortably like a top 20-ish pitcher in the league.
Yes,
he's not. I think some people are going to throw around the ace tag Freddy Peralta. He's our ace.
He's our ace, yes.
He's our ace. He's definitely not a top 10 pitcher in the game. Not to throw cold water. He's very good. I did my first pitcher rankings today from the start, doing more content now. He was 21 on my list, right in between Spencer Schwellenbach and Framber Valdez.
Where did I put him? Let me see where I put him.
Which is funny. But like, he's great. One of the things I like about Freddy Peralta a lot is that while he's been one of the best 20 or so pitchers in the league over the last 5 years, he became a full-time starter in 2021. What?
Freddie was 20 for me, by the way. That's pretty spot on rankings from the two of us. I know you didn't see it.
No, that's definitely not. But that's really funny. But since 2021, when Freddie became a full-time starting pitcher, he's got 740 innings, a 3.3 ERA, a 30% strikeout rate. Like, right there, that's one of the best pitchers in the league. He's made 3 years in a row with at least 30 starts. All his ERA estimators are not really far off from his actual ERA is. Can't really say there's a lot of good luck going on with Freddie. And past the consistency of what he's become since he did become this full-time guy, he's kind of just easing into himself, knowing how to pitch. Like, stuff's always been great for Freddie. Fastball Freddie, as they used to call him back in the day. But like, he's now just kind of hitting the next level with pitch mix, working the count a little bit, like understanding his spots, understanding how to play leverage and play the hitters. Like, he was one of the most fun watch, I think, in the game last year. And the fact that we can get him on what could be upward trajectory is so much fun.
And he ended the season so strong, too. I think the K rate climbed month after month after month to end the season in 2025. We've mentioned it before. Pitching development is so different than hitters because at times people expect, I think for any kind of pitcher, you come onto the scene and if you're not Paul Skeens, you're not that kind of guy, well, maybe you're not going to eventually be an ace. But with Freddy Peralta getting better and better and better every year, getting more innings underneath his belt, still very much in his physical prime, this is a guy who could take that next step this year with the Mets and become one of the best pitchers in baseball if the things keep moving forward like they have been.
Possibly, but also there's going to be something that's baked into Freddy Peralta now where like a lot of people are going to see the shiny 2.7 ERA last year. He's not a 2.7 ERA
yes,
guy.
Yes.
Like a nice 3.3, 3.4, 3.5. That's the place that we hope to wind up at the end of this.
He is coming to a more pitcher-friendly park in Citi Field than he is in Milwaukee.
You're probably getting a bit of a wash on defense depending on how all the Mets stuff winds up when we actually get into the season, get going with all this stuff. But he is just very good. He's also a guy that as he's matured, he's been gaining velocity. Like he's been picking up fastball velocity year over year. When he was a rookie in 2018, he sat 91. This past year, he sat 95. Like that's kind of a cool thing as he enters age 30. It also, again, just as a lesson to the pitchers that we have in the system right now, and like you just talked about pitching development not being linear, it took Freddy Peralta about 200 major league innings to get himself to being Freddy Peralta. Like there was some real rough patches 2018, 2019 Freddy Peralta where it was fastball.
David Stearns knew it too.
That's another cool connection about this. Like he was one of the best development success stories of the David Stearns Brewers of that era. Like he kind of changed the way that team was, for lack of a better term, moving through the early 2020s. Like once he was like kind of the bucking bronco, then he became like a true front-ish line pitcher. Like, oh, these guys are really cooking with something here, this organization. He was kind of emblematic of that.
Yeah, because of Freddy Peralta, they were able to move on from Corbin Burns. Granted, the prospect deal back wasn't great for Corbin, but like the idea was that they now had this kind of pitching lab that we're now seeing with the Mets. I wonder why. I wonder what the common denominator there could be. But it was just like they just kept churning out pitcher after pitcher after pitcher, and Freddie became one of those guys after we saw Burns and Woodruff have so much success. And the fact that we get to add Freddy Peralta to this rotation, seemingly going to be the opening day starter. You got Nolan McLean now moving to the number 2 spot. This starting rotation becomes so much more interesting, so much more depth, so many more arms. You can put guys in the bullpen. You can put them in so many different situations. The flexibility now on the starting pitching side by adding Freddy Peralta to this rotation, it's kind of very similar to what we're doing at the plate offensively, where a lot of guys can do a lot of different things, but there are still those key components, those stars in the right spots that you kind of build around. And that's what it seems like the Mets are doing.
It also is nice to take some of this, not heat, but like a good bit of this pressure off Nolan McLean. Like I think we both believe he could handle it. Like again, he to me is like,
I think he is an ace.
Yeah, like but at least right now, a borderline top 30 pitcher in the league. Like let's see how the league responds to him now the second time around. But to give a young man like that the keys during his actual technical rookie season and be like, you're the opening day starter for this team that just had a ballistic offseason, even before Freddy Peralta, like lots of in, lots of out. No matter what, the fans were still going to be a little bit cantankerous and like coming. You kind of have a season where you kind of need to make the playoffs to say, hey, Rook, like you're the ace. Like that is a lot for a young man to take on. So it's cool that now Freddy Peralta can really ease some of that pressure off of Nolan McLean. Now that's a incredibly formidable 1-2 in the National League. Like that's
it's awesome.
It's like one of the top 1-2 punches in the league. I know there's a lot of good, really, really good 1-2 punches around, especially the Dodgers 1-4, Schwellenbach and Sale. If Zach Wheeler's healthy, him and Christopher Sanchez. But like this is still, we now have a rotation that can kind of a little bit more so dance with those big dogs, which is super fun.
Yeah, we have a rotation that feels a lot more comfortable now, and I think for every ilk of Met fan, you feel a lot more comfortable now with Freddy Peralta being in this rotation as the actual number 1. All offseason, everybody's wanted that starting pitcher. This is the guy. I don't think the Mets necessarily go after more starting pitching, especially with the addition of Tobias Myers, too, in this trade. Not that he's going to be immediately in this rotation or anything, but the fact that he is starting rotation depth, that kind of feels like now the Mets are probably done on the starting pitching market unless Framber is so cheap.
Yeah, no, I might actually disagree with that just because I can still see them trying to work a trade for a guy like David Peterson or even still possibly even Kodai Senga. Like if you do that, I
guess that would be it.
Because there probably is, you're probably more inclined to sign a guy with a QO penalty again, like Framber Valdez, if you are able to trade David Peterson for something like you would have, something like you're giving up for the QO the next year, especially because the last QO was relatively washed for Edwin Diaz signing with the Dodgers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you try and want to keep those penalties plus the additions as even as possible. I don't know. After this week, you think they're done? Like, this is Michael Corleone shit. We're like, move. Like, let's fill out this team fast. Like,
I'm in Puerto Rico until Sunday, and it's going to snow a foot and a half apparently on Sunday, so I'm probably here until Tuesday, which means maybe David Stearns has still got something left. It wouldn't surprise me. I think I'm going to caution everyone, like the expectations. Like, I'll say this, like if we just go out and get some relievers now, I'm going to feel pretty okay with this offseason. I got no complaints whatsoever. If this is what the Mets did, it was a crazy way to get here, but I think, like me and you being big Stearns guys, being like, you just got to let him cook.
Wavered.
I wavered, but he showed me. I said, David Stearns, you got to show me. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know what the plan is. I see the plan now. I go, I should have never even wavered for a second on you.
It is funny, too, because, like, the way this offseason was, there was, like, a bit of a, I don't know, it felt a little bit timeline-wise like the Mets season, but complete reverse. With, like, the way the offseason began, people were like, oh, my God, this is
felt like the 2024 Mets.
Yeah, and then all of us, yeah, right? And then all of a sudden in January, when usually the offseason is relatively done-ish, besides, like, a few moves and a few free agents kind of waiting it out, like, you got some of the best overall players available that even changed teams. I think, like, is this the anger that was spurned by Kyle Tucker? Is this Steven Matz 2.0, a better version of it? Like,
well, I mean, it depends who you ask in the media world, because apparently whenever the Mets do something good, it's Steve Cohen's doing. Whenever there's something bad going on, that's on David Stearns. Completely ignore any of the stuff that Steve Cohen or David Stearns have done in their career. That's how it works now. And you know what? I think David Stearns is okay with that too. I don't think he wants the credit. All he wants to do is put a good baseball team out there and win.
Where the irony is, the one thing the Mets might have truly missed on the most this offseason, Kyle Tucker, there's non-zero chance that was impacted by Steve Cohen just going on the computer and tweeting. Before we really change the subject, can I get a little deep on some of the changes Freddy Peralta made last year?
Yeah, get a little deep with us, James. Give us a little pitching guru stuff.
I mean, pause. But, like, just something cool again. Yeah. The fact that Freddie's been adding some velocity slowly, I think that's a nice thing. Freddie's also been kind of just manipulating his arm angle a little bit the last few years. It's ticked up like a teeny tiny bit. It's also releasing a tiny bit further away from his body. In doing that, he's got more cut on a fastball that already has natural ride on it, which is nice. But the biggest thing Freddie did last year, which definitely kind of made me think very differently of him as a pitcher, and I think also that's coming to the world right now, and also it was reflected in ZRA kind of, somewhat accidentally. Because
also coming into last year, you were like, he's a borderline top 30 guy.
For sure, because it was always like Fastball Freddy, and Fastball Freddy was just kind of the nickname because it has good alliteration, but it was Fastball Slider Freddy. Like, he was a guy who he would start you out with his fastball, and then he would start to throw a slider when he got ahead in the count. And it was the kind of thing where the righties basically always kind of knew that was what was coming. There wasn't that much else. And the lefties, he was still able to mix and match the curveball and the changeup with those two pitches. But last year, he finally found like this real true consistency with that changeup more than he had before. Like, just as a comparison, where is it? I've got the Savant page open right now. That changeup usage ticked up about 4%, but in that changeup usage ticking up, he still was throwing it much more often. I got these two Brooks baseball tabs open at the same time, much more often to the righties. And we kind of talk a lot about the same side changeups, how they kind of go back and forth in the pitching circles. I think to be able to throw that pitch same-handedness, you have to be really fucking confident where you're putting it. So I think the fact that we saw Freddy Peralta able to throw that pitch more often against the righties, and a lot more often, especially when he'd fallen behind early in the count. When the righties were ahead of him last year in the count, he threw that changeup 25% of the time. From the year before, 15%. So the fact that he was able to use that pitch to get me over, it sounds like a small thing, but that's a lot of confidence in that pitch. And another thing, confidence-wise, is that Freddie kind of began to find his curveball. He tightened up his slider shape a little bit, so I think it just helped him open up where he can put that curveball. And in doing so, he threw that curveball 8% of the time to lefties in 2024, 16% 2025. But with two strikes, 25% of the time to lefties last season, up from 9% the year before.
Huge.
So the fact that he got those two pitches who were kind of his like secondary of secondary weapons, and he turned them both into having real roles, especially the curve being a put-away pitch, while also now picking spots with that slider. Its whiff rate went to 53% when it kind of sat in the 50s and 40s his whole career, and still being able to layer those fastballs in. Like, he became a complete pitcher. It wasn't like a metamorphosis, but that's the kind of growth you'd like to see from a guy who was a project, like a big work in progress in the early part of his career. Was getting by again on stuff, athleticism, just dogging those really nice fastballs. In your age 29 season, taking that step, becoming the ace of your own staff, like that was cool to see. And it feels like he's someone that could be ready to really take on more now coming to a new organization, the Mets.
I mean, it seems like those are the kind of players and personalities that David Stearns and the Mets are looking for, especially on the pitching side. Like, we're going to make some changes to you. There's going to be some tweaks, but if you're open to it, I think we're going to make you into a better pitcher.
Also, funny caveat to this, like, Freddy Peralta is one of the best Latino pitchers in all of baseball. Shout out to Team Dominican coming up in the World Baseball Classic. A lot of the lunatic fringe on Twitter has talked about the fake clause in Juan Soto's contract, the 39%. Yeah, Los Mets. But again, I think it's very fun for this clubhouse that we're just Freddy Peralta's a dude. Like, again,
it's another mercenary, James.
Another mercenary too. Freddy Peralta likely here for 1 year. I hate to say that because I know that
maybe though, maybe. Because he's such an interesting pitcher where, okay, he could bet on himself this year, and we did see the changes last year, and if he does that again, he is going to get paid on the open market. But if the Mets come to him right now with a pretty fair contract from both sides and some length, I think he'd be inclined to take it, and we do know that there is that thing with the Latino players where they are open to extensions more so than the American players before they hit free agency.
Flip side of that is that Freddie already had signed an extension. He signed an arbitration avoider with the Brewers ahead of the 2020 season that paid him $15 million over 5 years. It canceled out his last year of pre-arb, 3 years of arbitration where the extension paid him $2.5 million, $3.7 million, $5.7 million.
That wasn't a great contract.
He would have smacked those numbers if he went to arbitration.
Why did he take that?
And he would have been a free agent entering his age 29 season. And then also on top of it, he got two $8 million club options, the last of which is being picked up ahead of this season. So Freddy Peralta realistically had a 7-year, $31.5 million
Does a contract like that not make you think he's more inclined to take one if it's any sort of good because he took a horrible one?
That's why I think it's kind of the opposite. I think that Freddy Peralta insured himself basically $15 million in the bank. He got $16 million more the last 2 years. He's been pitching below market value. He's already been traded, so it's not like he's comfortable with a family in one city because he's already uprooted now ahead of the last year of the contract. So I think a guy in that situation might be more inclined to test the market, but also, again, in Freddie's position, like that extension was signed before he really actually became a full-time starting pitcher. Yeah. Like that was a really good risk to take by the Brewers, a team that kind of needs to take those kinds of risks with young players, even though it's not really a risk. $15 million over 5 years, worst case scenario, he would have been one of the best relievers in baseball. But now I think that guaranteed money in the pocket, I think a guy like Freddie might want to test the open market.
I mean, he right now he'd probably get what, C-Max free money, right?
I think probably a touch less. I don't know. I think that maybe a C-Max free, basically something around 7 for 200.
Yeah,
a hair below 7 for 190, 7 for 180. But also, like, if that gets it done, like, I would be happy to sign him to that. Like, I think Freddy Peralta, again, to keep talking about, top 25, 20 pitcher in the league. Looks like he's figuring it out, getting better. But I also did some research into his agency, Aces, which is based in Brooklyn, so maybe I'll knock on their door sometime this week. But they have players on there. Logan Webb signed a relatively team-friendly extension. Nathan Eovaldi seems like a guy who prioritized staying in the same place. Then also you have Gabe Spire, Yandy Diaz, Ryan O'Hearn. Again, it's a kind of a chaos agency. It doesn't seem like it's one of the biggest out there, but let's see, who's this one? This is, Colin Holderman, former Mets. There we go. We got something there. But this is, it's not like we're working with Scott Boras here. Again, this might be the kiss of death. He might sign with Boras later this week because I said this, but that's kind of, we got, I don't know. I think we have a
chance.
I put like 25-75 extension.
Yeah, I think there's a chance. I think there's a better chance than some of the other big-name starting pitchers if they were to be traded to this team, just because, again, Freddie's not probably going to be the number one top-paid pitcher of all-time type stuff. But at the same time, I'm okay with it, too. It's okay. This was the price that you had to pay to go get a top starting pitcher that the Mets desperately needed. And we also got the kicker in Tobias Myers. So do we want to talk about a little Tobias Myers action here before we start talking about what we gave up?
Yeah, I'm down for that. Why not? Let's talk about Tobias Myers. Because
this is your guy.
Is he my guy? I don't know if he's my guy.
You've loved him for a while, I feel like. Every time we do a Brewers preview, I feel like you bring up Tobias Myers some way, somehow.
I like Tobias Myers because when he broke on the scene last year, it was like he was just such a good scoop in fantasy baseball because he was so under the radar. He was a 26-year-old rookie who threw 93 miles an hour, and you're like, oh, like let's hang with Tobias Myers. Wasn't he also traded for Junior Caminero, if I remember right?
Yeah, I believe he was a part of the Junior Caminero trade.
I don't even know if he was a part of it. I feel like that might have been something like a 1-for-1 back in the day or something like that. But Tobias Myers is kind of what you want in a trade like this as big league depth. And we had the report from our guy Michael Marino early in the day that the trade was something like Sproat and Jett Williams for Freddy Peralta, but Mets thought it was too much and they wanted more. So it seems like the day was spent haggling over what the piece was that was coming back from the Brewers to the Mets. And I'm sure we started with Trevor McGill. Like I bet a lot of us would have wanted, but that was probably a pipe dream. Guys like Abner Uribe, they weren't going anywhere. You probably asked for guys like Robert Gosser and Logan Henderson. They're not going anywhere. And then it probably came down to something like Tobias Myers or Chad Patrick. And maybe it was the Brewers telling you get one of these two guys. Maybe it was the Brewers telling you this is the guy you're getting. Like maybe Quinn Priester was involved in there somewhere along the line. But this Brewers team had so much pitching depth that they traded their first and their ninth starting pitchers in this deal.
And they're going to get Brandon Sproat, who will be good for them. Like the Sproat-Myers trade, like I think Sproat is better. But I think that for this Mets team and the way that this Mets team fits, Myers might be a better fit for this team just because he does have that relief experience already and has shown that he can pitch in relief, which seems to be what his role is going to be, a long reliever.
Somewhat, but I also think that Sproat was probably the guy the Brewers wanted. Like I think in the same role this season, there's a good chance that Sproat could have been even a better version of Tobias Myers. But he probably did need a little bit more seasoning. Like Sproat just... Oh, now we're going to talk about all these guys in one shot, like Sproat, Jett, Tobias Myers. Like Tobias Myers, the fact that he jumped on the scene and had that great season 2 years ago, I think that gave him a lot of mass appeal. But I do think that he's not like a 140 inning, 25 start, 3 ERA guy. No, we're close to that. But the biggest thing with Tobias Myers, from sure why the Mets, David Stearns targeted him, is that he still has the minor league option, so he can spend this season being the swing guy and got 5 years of team control in this guy. He's a free agent in 2031. Like we're gonna be 35 years old, and this guy's a free agent. Like age check for Mark and James there, but like there was just a lot of good specs about Tobias Myers, and again, I think he still has plenty of upside as like a back end rotation starter. 100% of that.
Definitely. Now to talk about Sproat, of course, someone that we were talking about for so long on this team. We finally got to saw him get called up last year. Throws hard. I mean, it's a good move for the Brewers, but obviously for the Mets to bring in a pitcher of Freddy Peralta's caliber, you were going to have to move on from one of the starting pitch prospects. And even at the beginning of the year when we talked about it, we were saying how I think I might have even said, or you, one of us said, Sproat and Jett gets the deal done. And that was just for Freddie. So to get another pitcher with it helps.
And those guys are both such Brewers. It's amazing how much of Brewers both these guys are. Sproat just because you see breaking ball quality, and the guy's a horse. Like Brandon Sproat still does so many things that you want your prospect pitcher to do. Like he threw 116 innings across all minor league levels 2024, and then he threw 143 last year. Like this is a guy that is ready to come up and pitch if the time comes. But also he didn't get any swings and misses on a fastball, despite the fact that it sat 97 miles an hour. But if there's any organization I think that can do something with him, I think it's a team like the Brewers that like, oh, good sinker, good slider, good curveball. Like you can kind of make him a supercharged version of Quinn Priester, honestly.
Yeah, without a doubt. Having that velo is always just that's the thing that always made us super excited about Sproat was that fastball was so big, and sometimes you can't get a guy who throws 98 miles an hour consistently, and then to get Jett Williams, who fits the under 5'10" Brewer so well, we stand our short kings. Sad to see Jett go, friend of the podcast, been on a couple times, followed us. We got to hang out with him the day that he signed the contract with the New York Mets. Genuinely such a nice guy, but even the day that he signed that contract, me and you looked at each other like, he's never going to play a game for the Mets. There's almost no way.
No, probably not. It kind of felt like that the league was souring on Jett because it felt like he kind of would have been traded by now. Maybe David Stearns just knew that Matt Arnold and the Brewers would have wanted him, but he's also the kind of guy where like if Brandon Sproat can find any kind of different variation of his fastball shape or just like gain the 2 rungs of command, like bang, he's probably at least a number 3 major league starter, and the guy's already horse, throws hard. If Jett Williams can just find like a bit more of that contact, like he's a better version of Caleb Durbin to me, who they went out and got last season for a similar 1 year of Devin Williams. Like this is what the Brewers do.
Yeah, I got to imagine too again that they love the positional flexibility too with Jett. Shortstop, second base, center field. I'm sure he could play third base in a pinch too. He could play
left.
Yeah, play left, play right, whatever it is. Like, he's a good athlete. He's a good player, puts good contact on the ball when he makes contact, gets on base. Jett's a great player. It never really seemed like there was a path to actually being in the majors with the Mets outside of filling in a role. And especially when you trade for Simeon, who's here for 3 years, with all the other guys that are behind still too. And I do think A.J. Ewing kind of killed Chet Williams a little bit too in this organization.
100%. I was literally about to say that. I think now the world is like catching up to AJ Ewing a bit. He was inside. I think he was at number 81 or 83 on Baseball America's Top 100 that coincidentally came out on Wednesday. And I think it had Jett around 41 and Sproat in the 60s or 70s. But, you know, Baseball Prospectus has been talking about Ewing for a long time. We've been shouting out Ewing since the midway point of this past season.
Even when we drafted him, remember, we're like, this is one of the guys to watch out. We got a high school guy late.
Something else funny, this is true about Ewing, but it's also true about Jett and Sproat. They were not David Stearns draft picks. No. So I think it's relevant that it was the prior regime that brought those guys in. Again, same thing true for AJ Ewing, but I think there's been a lot more developmental helium on AJ Ewing, who probably is he's probably a better defender than Jett, and I think he might
and can play
have
center.
More and he's just I mean, again, as a short king, he's just not, you know, he's a little bit more of a Major League Baseball player archetype.
Yes, it's tough to project those guys. Always is.
No, but just the Mets are kind of, it seems like there's what we've been talking about for kind of years now, that there's so much confidence in the player development machine that's being built with this organization and the players that are already in the upper minors, like knocking on the door. You kind of have to allow the space for some of these guys to get to the next levels and perform. Like, you want runway for a guy like AJ Ewing this year to get to AAA and be able to do things. Like, you wanted some guys like, you know, Boy Santucci, Zach Thornton to like get to AAA Syracuse here and be able to pitch and have a rotation spot. Like, when the farm system's this good, you have to start trading guys because you need the next group of guys to get their shot.
It's a great problem to have. I love being like, not enough room for our guys in AAA right now that are deserving of being that high, and then trading those guys that were ahead of them to go get premier players like we do with Freddy Peralta.
And I cannot say that this wasn't a big package give up for a
rental.
rental.
It's great for the Brewers.
No, great trade for the Brewers. I think they made that really well. And I think the reason you get a guy like Freddy Peralta, who I'm sure a lot of different teams in this league were vying for, is because you gave them a package of multiple players that they really wanted. Like, it's nice for us that we had the prospects to do that without taking a big hit to our system. I saw Kylie McDaniel had a tweet that he was finalizing his top 100 list in his farm system rankings. The Mets were number 1 before this trade, and they dropped to number 6 after losing these two. The Brewers went from 6 to number 1 in acquiring these two players.
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, like, the Brewers farm system's absolutely loaded as well. Like, there's a lot of middle infield guys in the Brewers organization. Like, Jett just went. The good thing is that Jett has a much clearer path to the majors right now because they don't really have an actual shortstop in Joey Ortiz. But yeah,
it's just we got guys now. We have dudes now. This major league lineup right now. You look at this, and we have dudes everywhere. Like, this is a very, very fun moment in time for this Mets team. For a lot of Mets fans that possibly lost some faith, possibly wavered hope wise. Like, you're now. I think right now we're kind of hands down the second best team in the National League. Is that a crazy thing to say?
No, I don't think it is. People are going to clip that, and that's fine. And maybe we'll clip it and post on social media. Maybe that's a little hint there to someone out there. But, like, this team, I put out the tweet. I'm like, whispers, like, this Mets roster looks really good. Like, I think this Mets team looks awesome. And while it doesn't have a lot of familiar faces, and that might be scary to some people because we saw some fan favorites leave, you look around the field, they got more athletic a ton. They might be a better hitting team. They might be much better hitting. Who knows? We'll find out what that looks like. Pitching-wise, we added a starting pitcher to a rotation that was underperforming last year, but some of the underlying stuff also tells you that the Mets were good enough and that the defense kind of let them down. The Mets got better defensively, no doubt. It feels like we're putting together a much, much better baseball team.
A much more cohesive baseball team. Seems like a much more coherent baseball team. Seems like a baseball team that's much more built in David Stearns' identity and his vision. And I think that was a big thing. Like, it's kind of crazy how many different players are on this team right now.
Oh,
like,
I was explaining it to my dad. I was like, go around the field, and I'm like, there's so many new guys just in the lineup.
There's probably going to be 5 new everyday players in the lineup on opening day, counting Carson Bench whenever he starts to get that full-time role. And we'll have to be in the first 2 weeks of the season if we want him to qualify for a PPI pick, if he over his rookie contract gets rookie of the year stuff, MVP votes, this and that. The other thing, Freddy Peralta at the top of the rotation. Remember, we got Devin Williams and Luke Weaver. That feels like a lifetime ago. Like,
long ago.
This whole team is different right now, and I don't think that's a bad thing considering what happened last year, how it ended. But we've got this is a ball club right now, and I'm pumped about that.
I'll tell you, it's really nice that on January 22nd, when we're recording this, that my biggest concern right now with this team is the bullpen. I love that the bullpen is the biggest question mark because we know that there's going to be some chaos. There's going to be some nonsense that goes on. There's a bunch of young arms that can fill in this bullpen. And also, shout out David Stearns, who said it early on in his Mets tenure, the bullpen at the beginning of the year is not what the bullpen will look like at the midpoint. It's not like what it'll look like at the end of the year. It's not what it'll look like in the playoffs. And just because this bullpen might not look fully complete right now, the trade deadline, the Mets are good. They can go out and grab a bunch of guys again. Look how many guys were available last year.
And we're so well
Relievers
last year.
are traded all over. I mean, the Mets, we picked the wrong ones, but like there were so many guys available. We could have had Dave Bednar. Imagine him in this bullpen. Like those guys will be available again. We'll be able to find those people on the market. That's a good. If you're going to have any question mark about anything on an organization and a team, I think the bullpen is the one I feel most comfortable about having that.
And I think, funny enough, the way that the Mets AAA rotation looks like it will line up on opening day, I think it allows for, again, like we kind of thought would happen with Sproat, but a lot of flexibility for some of these pitchers to come up and see what they can show in the bullpen. Like Jonathan, Christian Scott are the obvious options. Same with Tobias Myers getting him in this trade. But I do think you want to probably keep Tobias stretched out because it is still such a good starter's repertoire with a nice fastball shape, a changeup, a slider, like a lot of stuff. But I keep looking at this. You guys, this is, and again, once we hit the 30-minute mark in the Messed Up podcast, it gets to freak hours.
Crazy.
I'm looking at Jonathan Pintaro and Justin Hagen, man. Like I'm seeing shit from those two guys where I'm like, I could really find a world where those two guys are trusted middle relievers in August, and we're not upset about it.
Who's going to be the guy off the 40 man for Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers?
Oh, that's a good question, honestly. I have no idea. Let's see, who can we look at right now? I mean, let's just pull up the 40 man real quick and this Demon Hours. Also, like, what do you think actually finishes off this roster? Like, how do you think this ends up?
I think that the Mets probably do go after, and again, I know I said this was going to make me violently depressed, but I do think like there's probably an Austin Hayes maybe in the realm, just like a right-handed hitting corner outfielder.
Now after we got Freddy Peralta, Bo Bichette, and Luis Robert.
I said I was going to be violently depressed, but now it makes a lot more sense because we have all these other bats, and that guy can hit like eighth in this lineup, and it allows Carson Bench to kind of have the platoon. It probably is just going to be Tyrone Taylor.
It probably is a good idea to get in Austin Hayes, but I do wonder if they would sacrifice Tyrone Taylor. I think they still want him on this roster for defense. Yeah, like, and also like if push does come to shove, and because you just want a right-handed batter to pair with Carson Bench as he kind of goes about his rookie season, but you also want some insurance in case Carson Bench is not as ready as we expect.
Sproat was on the 40 man. I forgot Sproat was on the 40 man. So
yeah,
Sproat's on the spot,
man.
And then probably Joey Gerber is the other one, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking probably Joey Gerber or shout out Joey Gerber, but it's. I mean, like you probably want still a little bit of insurance for Carson Bench, but you might be able to get to like March 6th and be able to sign Austin Hayes. Like
there's no rush, I don't think.
Or when rosters start getting cut, you could just trade someone in the complex. You could probably get a right-handed hitting outfielder. Teams don't want right-handed hitting outfielders. They're dying to get those guys.
Johnny DeLuca from the Rays at some point.
I think he's way too good at defense. The Rays will not let him go.
You don't think so?
When he has this much team control left, but like this. I still also see the one move I still do see them making is getting a veteran utility infielder.
Okay,
I'm saying
you think so? I don't know, man.
I think that because you have afforded yourself the option of Ronnie Mauricio, so I think you let him get 2 months of at-bats to start the season. You don't really have many infielders on the AAA team right now, at least many middle infielders. Like you're going to have Wyatt Young right now, and then they really don't have a AAA shortstop. Like I guess Jackson Clough is the guy that's listed right now in roster resource. We DFA'd my boy Sung-Jae Chang. I can't believe I just mentioned his name. I killed him. He got killed for Luis Garcia's roster.
Jackson Clough is next.
But yeah, but he's an NRI. So I think that you might open up shortstop for Mauricio in the early part of the year. So one, would you do that? If he could play shortstop, you look at the other guys in the league. You're like, see this guy playing shortstop?
Yeah.
Can we get your best reliever for him? But you also he has to get consistent at bats at some point. He basically hasn't played baseball in 3 years. Like you need him to, and you saved the option last year, probably to try and pull that off this year. So I think in doing that, gross. You just signed like an IKF to be a runner and a great defender at every position.
Well, the Mets bench right now would be Terrens, Beatty, and
Beatty's probably still in the lineup right now on opening day, unless
one of Beatty or Vientos. One of Beatty or Vientos is on the bench. So those are those two. Then you have Tyrone Taylor as the third outfielder. I guess that does leave one spot.
Fourth outfielder.
or fourth outfielder. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, and it's Mauricio unless he starts the year in AAA, which he probably will because of the option.
He probably does. And then the other option is that you find a designated hitter. I go, we're also assuming Benja's on the roster and we're saying these things.
Yes, that's true.
Like, that's an assumption that we're making. But, like, Beatty can be the backup infielder, but you probably just need someone else in this organization that can play shortstop. Like, it'd be unwise to go into the season with no other shortstops in the organization.
Bo Bichette, there he is.
I forgot about Bo Bichette.
Bo Bichette was a shortstop.
and Jorge Polanco and Marcus Semien. He was a shortstop last year. It's an easy one to forget. But David Stearns said we have 4 shortstops in the diamond most days now, which is such a hilarious line.
That is a fun, that's a fun spin zone. Yeah.
I still see some kind of utility infielder being brought in, and I really would not be surprised if either Mark Vientos or David Peterson got moved.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. I kind of still want Peterson just because he really was so good until the last month of the year, and then he had the worst last month he possibly could have ever had. Like, his ERA was a low 3 going into September, and then all of a sudden he's like, forgot how to pitch.
He also, and this is completely not his fault in any way, shape, or form, but he is the last player connection. I guess and Ryan Mauricio, because he's been in his organization so long, but to the Wilpons.
And Vientos. Vientos is
yes,
Wilpon,
Dave Peterson's the last. Peterson's the last guy that played Major League Baseball while the Wilpons owned the team.
Fair.
So, like, again, not saying anything, but, like, I could see, I don't know. Not that that's going to impact anything, but for the stench to fully be gone, it's like, I don't know, just trade David to get back what you were giving up with the QO penalties.
I think that's pretty good, though. That's about 35 minutes of talking about Freddy Peralta and the Mets and everything.
Frankie, too.
Oh, give me Frankie Peppers to end this.
Here comes Frankie Peppers. Send us home. Freddy Peralta.
Gentlemen, this is Frankie Peppers. How you doing?
How you doing?
A lot has happened in the past 24 hours. I'm calling you at 10 to 10 on Wednesday the 21st. Sleepy Stearns is awake. I don't know what to tell you. You thought he had narcolepsy. Turns out he's wired on like too much caffeine. He's making moves. We're making moves, boys. We knew to trust the process. We might not have been able to see the vision a few months ago, but that vision should be crystal clear right now. Freddy Peralta, Lewis, Robert, Robert. I'm just going to say both. That way I can always be 50% right. Robert, Robert. It's a good-looking offseason, boys. And I'm really excited. So, hope you're having a fun night. Let's go, Mets. I'll talk to you soon. Take care, boys.
Love that from Frankie. I'm juiced up. Is David Stearns messing with us, just making all these moves in the middle of the night?
Making them in the middle of the night while I'm on vacation. I'm gonna get back, and there's not gonna be anything that happens for 3 weeks with the Mets. And then as soon as I get ready to go to Vegas end of February, that last weekend of February, I guarantee you at least one move gets made. Yeah.
I gotta just say, don't trade Brett Baty. Brett Baty,
please don't.
He's the roster glue. He's the backup for all of these infielders that are very off injured. We need Brett Baty.
And he was so good last year. He was so good. Give me Brett Baty. Keep him here.
I like his calming energy. He's gonna fuse this whole clubhouse together when they do their icebreakers the first day of spring training.
I like the cut of his jib. But that's all we've got for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure you are subscribed to Mets Up on YouTube. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on social media at
James Shiano.
And I'm Giraffe Neck Mark. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Let's go, Mets.